Hello there guys, it's Stephen here. Welcome back to a special episode of Club Footy. I've been joined by Rory from CFC Fan TV, the home of Chelsea fan content. Rory, how are you doing, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, very well. Delighted the football season's back and it's been going okay for us, yeah.
Just quite a bit going all right. I think it's 3 games out of 3 now, is that, for Chelsea?
3 out of 3, absolutely. Yeah, you can't ask for more than that, especially when you consider that Sarri's come in and had to try and implement a brand new style of football. So, yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, as a City fan, I'm gutted to see Jorginho already spreading his wings and doing very well. They're outpassing Newcastle. He's a good player. But one person who isn't doing quite so well, and the reason why you're hurt, is Mr. Jose Mourinho. He's up in the headlines at the moment, and I thought I'd get a Chelsea fan, a man who loves him just as much as he probably understands his troubles, to air the other side, basically, their view. And Rory, as an outsider looking in, what do you make of this mess that seems to be unfolding at Old Trafford?
Look, it's glorious, isn't it? And watching Manchester United, I'm of a generation where I'm so used to Manchester United just doing brilliant things. And this is the longest that they haven't won a trophy that I can remember. 6 years without a title for them. So it really does feel good. The only issue for me is it's tarnished slightly. Look, I am enjoying it, but it's tarnished slightly because I have an awful lot of respect and a fair bit of love for Jose Mourinho. Mourinho took me to days I didn't think were ever possible. I remember going to the Reebok Stadium in Bolton, watching Frank Lampard round Jaskalainen, and we won the Premier League. I never thought that day would be possible. And the reason that day happened was due to the brilliance of Jose Mourinho. So I will forever be thankful for that.
Yeah.
But it's over, isn't it?
Is the warning signs here now? We've seen what he did the other night. It was almost like a process. Have you seen this before at Chelsea? I know this is the infamous third season syndrome, but does this ring bells for you?
Yes, terrifyingly. For any Manchester United fan watching this, there's a little parable I can tell you. I was young and I can remember a decade or so ago, we went to play at Adams Park, Wickham, and we're going over there. It's a semi-final of the League Cup. Chelsea are lining up and there's some gripes. We're not on good form and Mourinho's been sniping with the board. And the reason was because the board wouldn't sanction a deal, a pretty cheap deal, for Tal Ben Haim. Remember the Bolton defender?
He played for City. I'm a City fan and I remember he wasn't too great for us, but still $500,000 for Chelsea at the time.
Right, yeah.
It's peanuts.
So maybe the board should have backed him. Well, the board should have backed him. We needed a centre half, but Mourinho's response to that was ridiculous and it was a tantrum. What he did was in the fixture against Wickham, he played our two centre halves that night were Paulo Ferreira, naturally a right back, and Michael Essien, naturally one of the most gifted midfielders I've ever seen. Neither particularly gifted centre half. We drew the game 1-0 away at Wickham. Not good enough. And that for me was Mourinho doing exactly what he's doing then what he's doing now, which is flicking 2 fingers up at the board and trying to prove his ego, prove that he needs reinforcements, and just being as belligerent as possible. And we saw it the other night. When he played Ander Herrera as a third centre-half.
Against Harry Kane, of all people.
Against Harry Kane. What chance have you got? What are you doing? So I've seen it before, and sadly, the story doesn't end well.
Look, at the same time, though, his biggest strength is also his biggest weakness, his pride and that kind of drive to prove people wrong. I mean, is it really past the point of no return? Because he is still Jose Mourinho, and there is still Pogba and Lukaku and so on, and so many very, very good footballers there. Can he turn it around? I mean, will he really actually be gone before, I don't know, Santa turns up at the new year?
I don't think so. I don't think that he's the man to get United out of this quandary that they're in, and I don't think it's his strength. I think Mourinho is an incredible manager, but what he's good at is leading the charge for the Premier League.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what he has to deal with at United. I just don't think he's the right man to do it. And judging by the look of him and judging by his demeanour, he's not happy. Doesn't want to be there.
He looks tired, doesn't he?
Well, if you think about the man that I'm talking about, right, the man that I fell in love with and the man that gave me days that I never thought were possible. I saw things under Mourinho's tenure that I never thought I'd see. Not only did we win the league, we won it twice in a row, back to back, breaking records, conceding 6 goals at home all season, scoring a brilliant amount of goals, playing some exhilarating football with Duff, Robben, Drogba. That man that was so wonderful. Think about that man, right? Think about words to describe that man. He was young. He was daring. He was innovative. He was handsome. He was clever. All of these things.
True.
I'm not sure that the man I'm describing, the man I love, is he still alive? Does he still exist? because I think you could draw a line in the sand, right? Pre and post Madrid. The man that was at Chelsea and at Inter Milan was all of those things. He was a pioneer. He was wonderful. The man that came back to the Premier League from Madrid was slightly troubled and slightly different. And I'm not sure he ever recovered. Worn down, absolutely. I'm not sure he's ever recovered from his period in Madrid, and I'm not sure he ever will.
Do you not think you can? Because, I mean, I think in general, I saw a theory the other day about one of the things that's affecting most Mourinho United. I'm not sure if this is just an excuse or not, but there is some weight to it. It's the expectation that comes with the job. If you think of United, you think of the flying wing, it's the attacking football, and all that went before for the 20-odd years of Ferguson or whatever. Whereas Mourinho's style, I think even yourself would admit, even during the Chelsea days, it was built on that solid foundations and a little bit less unashamedly so. And I feel like he's kind of sometimes caught between the idea of wanting to do what he knows best and trying to entertain the crowd, which hasn't always been his forte. I'm not saying he doesn't know how to attack, but I think in general, there is a different expectation for what he used to do to what he feels like he should be doing at United. And he tellingly, in my opinion, said in one press conference where he was like, and he was talking about, if I defend, you criticise, if I go forward, if we concede goals, you criticise, like, what do you want me to do? Do you feel like he's trying to compromise a bit, and as a result he's getting this kind of halfway house, or is it just a coincidence this has happened given the fact that he may be worn down after Rail or whatever?
I think that the game has actually caught him up. I think that what he did, he changed the game of football completely. You know, he made the way that he set up that Chelsea side that were breaking records in 2005, 2006. The way that he then that blueprint that he used there. He did wonderful things in Italy. And I just think that the managers that have come since have learnt from him. Antonio Conte, for example, Pep Guardiola, certainly. But I think they've left him behind. And it's quite ironic that what happened to Wenger via Mourinho is kind of happening. You've got to think, Mourinho was in the press conference the other day going, three titles. Arsene Wenger won 3 titles and he called him a specialist in failure. So... I don't quite know what to do, but he looks like a man on the brink, and he looks like a man who's unhappy. And the fact that he started talking about his own personal record and his own personal trophies that he'd won at another club whilst representing Manchester United. He's
planned that as well. He's had to do the research to double check, even if it took him 5 minutes. That was at a point before the press conference, which immediately shows where his mindset is, and it's not.
Probably wanted to use that. He probably wanted to use that for ages, but he had to wait for Wenger to retire.
Yes, it's mine now.
Now I can use that stat.
Am I right in saying as well, and this may be unsubstantiated, but I feel like he's had the same coaches with him throughout his career. I'm not sure if that's true, but I feel like I read it somewhere.
Well, Rui Faria. Rui Faria was the man who's now not there.
He's left now. Oh yeah, he has.
That could be huge. That could be part of this.
It could also be that
sounding board for him. It was his trusted lieutenant, and we know how valuable a good number 2 is.
It could also be that
they're worth their weight in gold.
That he's also had no change of thought process for that long. If he's had someone alongside him all the time, and as a City fan, so I'm biased, but Guardiola did say when he came to England, Arteta had the biggest influence in him. Even talking to Brian Kidd of all people, who understand the league and who maybe have a different perspective to him. It can be useful sometimes stepping out your comfort zone. And we see a lot of managers who have that one way and they take the same coach with them wherever they go. And there's a bit of that with Guardiola as well. But I feel like sometimes you have to have a little bit of influence from a new way of thinking.
You've got to move with the times.
Yeah,
you've got to move with the times. And I think that Mourinho has certainly been caught up. I still think he's a great manager, and I still think that he will go on to win medals because he's a born winner.
Yeah.
But the man that I knew would never, say for example, Chelsea, Manchester United, FA Cup final last season.
Yeah.
Going into that game, when I was asked how I felt about it, I was convinced that Chelsea would lose that final. And the reason I said that is because Jose Mourinho is in the other camp. And Antonio Conte had never won a final. Mourinho, he had never lost one as far as I can remember, certainly not lost one in England. It was all geared up to be a Manchester United victory. And I think that moment, him losing a cup final to Antonio Conte with a very gifted Manchester United team in a game that they never turned up for, that for me was very indicative of the man that I knew not being around anymore. He would never have lost that in 2007. Never. In fact, in 2007, Chelsea played Manchester United at the first game at the new Wembley, and Chelsea won. Drogba scored, and Mourinho lifted the trophy. It's proven that that's the theory is correct.
I'm with you entirely. Mourinho would not have lost that game last season in previous years. But now the final question, and it's two-parter. If you were Ed Woodward, what would you do? And if you were Mourinho, what would you do? Would you take a sabbatical? Would you go back to Portugal? Where's this going to end for those two?
Well, it's very difficult for me to answer the "what would you do if you were Mourinho" question, because the mentality is so far away from the man I am. Mourinho is a born winner. He's a man who is obsessed with his ego and his own personal. That's not me. If I was Mourinho, I'd just think, mate, you're a wealthy man. You buy yourself a lovely house somewhere. You buy yourself a lovely vineyard in Portugal. You drink some lovely wine every day. You have a great time. That's what I would do if I were him. If he as him, I don't think he can do that. I think he requires the drive, and I feel like the next stop for him, I think he has to leave, by the way. So I can answer these two questions combined. I think Woodward has to get rid of it.
Agree.
So when that ultimately happens, whether it happens tomorrow, whether it happens before you have a chance to edit this video, or whether it happens at Christmas, it's going to happen. So I think that they need to get rid, and that will happen at some point. But then what I think Mourinho will do is go to either Paris Saint-Germain and try and win a Champions League, or maybe an international football.
I would agree with that. I feel like he'd actually need somewhere to be the underdog, but I don't think he'd ever kind of not stoop, if you know what I mean. I don't think he'd resign himself to not a super club after everything he's done in the game.
I think it's, as you know more than most, as I do. It's not simply a case of spend loads of money on a team and win the league. That doesn't happen. But Mourinho is the man to give a war chest to. And if Paris Saint-Germain don't win the Champions League this year, Mourinho, get him in, you have a very good chance of winning.
Well, exactly, and we know he'd win the French league. He'd walk it, I'm sure, given his ability, given the Paris Saint-Germain squad. And if that their aim was just the Champions League, well, there's not many better, is there? And Rory, thanks for coming, mate. It's been a pleasure having you. If you want to see more from Rory, go over to CFC Fan TV. Loads of amazing Chelsea videos there. Anyway, guys, if you're new to Club Footy, make sure to subscribe. Let us know what you think of the Mourinho stuff in the comments, and we'll both see you soon. In a bit.